what that's all about? Even though it's a lower total overall,
I believe that's going to include the costs that were approved in the February 4th meeting for the retrofit of the lifeguard towers. There were 3 installments.
oh,
Shout
okay.
it.
Oh, I'm
Cost
sorry.
out.
So the first year, this particular fiscal year, there was the addition of the 6, it was all told, I think it was 61,666 that was added.
Additional 6.
$61,666 became the total available to retrofit the lifeguard towers
Okay.
and the employee space called the lockup down at the beach. And there were 2 subsequent installments of $21,000 that were slated for the following 2 fiscal years. So that would be a portion of that increase.
So that's why then it goes to 161, and then the next year it jumps up again, because we're taking care of that over the next couple of years?
Yes, absolutely.
Got it, okay, okay.
And I'm looking at a number, 2019-20, of 908,703
In the actual financial,
this.
the,
on the actual financial page that was included in this report.
So that, I could say, is attributed to wages. So the addition.
Attributed to what?
Wages.
wages.
So the addition
So
of the.
Wages aren't in here?
Oh, no, I'm referring back to the page I believe you just referenced. The 908,703.
I'm lost. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, I know, wait.
Are you?
These numbers don't match.
Oh, I would have to ask.
I see recreation totals, recreation, and here's recreation administration, division summary, and here's the department overview. The department overview has us net appropriations, total expenditures, 908,703 for this upcoming fiscal year. Next year, 927.
This number here matches this number here,
Okay,
salaries, personal
So-
costs.
show me again,
This number here matches
629.
this number here,
I
projected
see it.
budget.
Good. Salaries and benefits only.
Numbers are driving me crazy.
Yeah, yeah, I see. Plus another 161 for operational,
So it shows. It follows.
161, and then 21,000 capital expenditures, 96,000 internal service fund charges.
Yeah,
Yeah, it follows.
so
This is,
this sheet from the staff report is just showing personnel costs and operating costs.
okay,
This sheet overall that you're looking at also includes internal service fund charges and capital expenditures.
which one do you want us to look at?
This is a more accurate
Yeah,
total
Overall,
of everything. Yeah,
because you have the,
So I'll ask again.
Yeah, the
Which one do you
consolidation.
want me to look at?
I say this
Okay.
is the more complete.
Guys, let's use this one. You got it with you?
I do.
Please, yeah.
I have that one in front of me.
632, yeah, I see in 176, yeah.
um,
Good. Councilmember Schnott?
yeah, so I have a couple other places highlighted. So PERS, so we go from I don't know what page this is on here.
Yeah, they're not numbered.
Recreational programs manager, it starts at the top, it just continues. I don't know if is it rec admin? Yeah, okay, that one. So the PERS number, I'm looking for blips on a page, and so the PERS number, we have, actuals projected, so it goes from actual 2017-18 of 14,878, it dives down to under 8,000. Year-to-date, 7,305, and then proposed, it jumps up to 13,198.
Yeah, and that would reflect the addition of the
The
Recreation
line.
and Ocean Safety Supervisor.
Yeah, the supervisor, okay.
And then also the overall rates are going up.
Okay.
Right.
Even if we maintain staffing level, the rates would still be going up.
And then, is that the case with medical insurance as well? We have 000, and then we show $10,000 jump. because of that, the personnel. Okay, that one, okay. And so that then carries forward then on the community center division summary budget. I show that year-to-date for this year, we're ending at 142,436, and then proposed 175, so there's a jump there. And operational charges, there's a, close to 50%, or, well, not 50%, more than 50% jump from one year to the next. Year-to-date is partial. Is that the case through all of these numbers?
No, just year-to-date. Really, if you're gonna look at 1920, compare it to, it says projected, but it really should be budgeted 1819. Those are two full-year amounts. The number between them is a partial year.
In all of the numbers, all of these pages, that's what you're saying?
If you look at the year-to-date column,
Okay, 3/4 of the year. Okay.
Why is that? Why don't,
crappy system, is a nice thing I can say. It
Well,
should be able to
typically-
give you like a year-to-date through March, but you have to run that report on April 1st, and it would depend on what you finish to complete all those months. So it's not really a complete, accurate, up-to-date year-to-date.
okay.
And I have one other question. So overall then, when you summarize everything, and everything you have from, Miranda Park to these special events to what we do at the community center, et cetera, everything, the total budget we're looking at is 908,703?
Yes,
Everything's included, okay,
for 1920,
okay.
with the exception of the recommendation and 1 million one-time expenditure costs for the
Right.
park upgrades.
Right, okay. And do you think that would, that $1 million would be expended in the year, or would it be over like a 2-year process? Do you have an idea of how that would be
It would-
done?
It would probably be over a 2-year process,
Yeah.
I'm guessing, because we haven't looked at, we've talked about all the projects as a whole, but we haven't prioritized or gotten any approvals from city council, so at this point, we're looking at a 2-year window for those projects.
And what about then the review that we had started, maybe with Linda Lee? I don't know what to call it, but they went out and we had a consultant look at all the lighting and what we could do, right? And energy
Oh, yeah,
efficiency.
the NG project.
NG project, yes.
Yeah.
So would you wrap those folks into this particular capital plan?
I
Is
say
that safe?
yes, because a lot of what they're working on will want to do roofing and HVAC at the same time we're doing those other improvements. So there will be, the city will need to contribute some city funds to those projects. There may also be that California Energy Commission loan that the council approved, I think back in February, approved applying for. There may also be grant monies that come in for energy efficiency. So there'll be several funding sources that fund all those improvements. But I think that will become a part of our capital improvement budget.
And overall, I would think that they might even have recommendations on what we can do with lighting out there that might run us further into the future versus maybe, just 20 years or 10 years and then we have to redo stuff. So it would be smart to kind of integrate all of this because we've already gone through this consulting.
Sure.
So, yeah, okay. That's it for me.
Good job, Anna. I have one question, though, about the Wi-Fi at the community center. Do you have any plans to install Wi-Fi there for?
Yes, so we will be coming back to the council specifically to address some of those internal upgrades, but Wi-Fi is definitely a necessity going forward.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Great, thanks.
Okay. Councilmember Rollins?
Conceptually, what do you have in mind then for the Miranda Park building itself?
Conceptually, just, yeah.
Because I know like you have it down as a pro shop, which Probably hasn't been a pro shop for a number of years, but
I think in just the initial stages, in order to have a presence established at the park and to kind of get us in a position where we can open it for some type of business, staff internally could rent some equipment, and that could be one of the items under this special events category that is used to purchase some rackets or basketballs, and those things could be rented to park goers. We could also look at contracting to have vending machines brought on site and facilitate a purchase for people. I would want to keep those inside of the business itself as opposed to outdoors. And so we would have someone in place to interface and achieve that transaction. But there's the clubhouse attachment as well. There is nowhere in the city currently where anyone from the public can rent a park space without some type of large-scale special use permit request. And so that would be a place where people could rent for parties on an ongoing basis or HOA meetings on a monthly basis. There's quite a few options we have. We just want to rehab it to the point where we can get in and then begin exploring how to fill it.
Councilmember Schnapp?
Yeah, so I ditto the idea of having rentals for the community, because we really don't have much like down this way, you know, in the community. And I know that rentals is really very important for future generations. You know, they may not have the storage space to store stuff. They may not have the money to invest in, you know, great tools to play tennis or do whatever, right? And so, or pickleball, whatever. And so I think if we did that, we could engage many more kids and families to be part of recreation, and it would be at a cost savings. So I would say that would be a great asset to have.
I agree.
Councilmember Ghana?
I'd just like to reinforce the concept that I think we need some police presence down there, and I think we need some organized activities for youth. I really was impressed with what I saw at the Hueneme Boys and Girls Club. They do not have a field. Miranda Park has a huge field, although it needs to be rehabbed right now. So it seems to me that we could partner with the Boys and Girls Club and have activities that are more suited for the field. And again, I'd like to see some kind of police presence or some kind of presence there where we're engaging a lot of kids in a lot of activities so we could drive the undesirable stuff that's going on down there.
We can explore that as well. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you very much, Al. No,
Can someone bring the clicker up?
Mr. City Manager, I'm noticed that
Yeah.
my next group of numbers here, one is for parks and facilities. After that is culture and leisure. And both begin with division summaries. These are not included on the summary here.
So the recreation programs, but they're not included on the,
Well, the recreation program numbers, they jived over here. These are in addition to.
so apparently we didn't, when we did the staff report that you guys are looking at,
This includes, for example, the Miranda Park rental equipment, vending machine, chairs and tables for the building, tennis net replacement parts, beach volleyball net replacement parts are all under this category. But again, it's under parks and facilities. This is recreation administration. And they're not numbered, so it's hard to see. I'll give you mine if you want to. You can see what we have there.
Mr. City Manager, don't they like all roll up to the one budget? But there's separate categories within.
yeah, these are all programs within recreation.
Well,
So
He's saying they don't add up
my recreation totals added up on the recreation side. I've circled those numbers where they matched.
And are you still looking at?
I'm trying
the
not to look at this.
Okay.
But I did look through this to try and find, well, here's lifeguards now, here's next.
Take total expenditures, add them all up, they add up to the total.
These pages will add up to this.
If you start on the back page with the lifeguards, junior lifeguard division summary,
Well, let me get to that. Again, first was recreation administration, parks and facilities, different. Lifeguards and junior lifeguards. It looks like a two-page,
yeah, the summary that says division summary, it has total expenditures of $472,279.
yes, I see that.
Go back 2 pages to the culture and leisure division summary. There you have 11,450 expenditures.
Excuse me, culture and leisure division summary, senior nutrition program, is that what you're talking
No,
about?
that's a grant, that's
Okay,
not
I'm
included.
trying to go back, but again, these pages are not numbered, so we are wasting a lot of time trying to figure out
Yeah.
what we're talking about.
I think Susan Doman was talking about an agenda management system that would number these.
So maybe we should buy that, and then we'll come back and make a budget.
Yeah, then we'll
Well,
be
it's in the
delayed
budget.
even longer
It's
than.
in
It's
the
in the proposed
budget,
budget.
yeah.
Yeah, the only way to really do what you're talking about, and I've seen a lot of cities that do, is they go through and hand number each one of these pages with a handwritten number.
That's what we should have done.
At least for the council.
We can blame it on Susan since she's not here.
Not fair.
But yeah, if you
yeah,
take
okay,
those,
so I
those
mean,
total expenditures and add them up, they will add up to the
901.
Recreation and Community Services Department overview, the 908,703. It's everything with the exception of the senior nutrition lunch program, because that's a separate fund. That's Fund 265, not the general fund.
I can't challenge you. I mean, I don't know how to address this, so that's all right.
All right, so we're going to move on to the next part of administration, which is, this is an administration department overview. So the divisions are the city council, city manager, city attorney, human resources,
Okay,
city
so I
clerk.
should get rid of the parks and facilities, culture and leisure, lifeguards and junior lifeguards. Let me get this right. Okay, that's included in that. Senior nutrition program. Where are we going now?
City.
The
city
next
manager.
one is city manager.
Full-time.
Yeah.
City manager, 80%, clerk, 25%,
Want general-
deputy sheriff, 15%.
general government.
Oh, okay, there we go. I got it upside down there.
Yeah.
City, no, that's city council. It didn't say general government. What number page are you looking at?
It's the one that follows senior nutrition. It's
Yeah,
city
right after
manager.
senior
Yeah.
nutrition,
I
you
think
should have
took
one that
yours
says
apart.
city manager, city attorney, division summary.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
I didn't
This-
unstaple them.
Is it over there?
You can have mine.
It's okay, it's okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. So the divisions within the administration department are city council, city manager, city attorney, human resources, city clerk, risk management, and information systems technology. We talked about human resources and city clerk last time, so those have been covered. We'll talk about most of the rest of those tonight. Staffing currently is the city manager, a deputy city manager, a part-time position, which is called administrative coordinator, 2 retired annuitants that are part-time retired folks that are working for us on special projects, the city clerk, an HR analyst, and then the recently approved HR manager, an HR intern, an information systems technology manager, which is full-time, and then the information systems assistant, which is a part-time position. So that reflects our currently budgeted staffing. We talk here, we'll let you take a look at this later, submission statement and primary activities of the city manager's office. There really were no changes or any one-time requests from the city manager division this year. It's pretty much a status quo budget in city manager itself. I know the mayor stepped out for a minute. He has asked me recently whether we should have some additional staffing in the city manager's office, partly to assist in support of the city council. I'm not opposed to that necessarily, but I want to wait until we get the city clerk on board and the new deputy city manager on board to get their input on what would make the most sense and where the needs really are. So that would be, we'd be coming back probably mid-year with a potential request in that area. We're not going to go crazy with it, but I think it's something we will definitely evaluate. And again, new city clerk starts Monday, June 17th. So really, other than some consulting contracts that we have had for several years, and then the salaries and benefits, that we really did not have any significant new increases or one-time projects in the city manager's office this year. You'll see in just a minute that we're budgeting for the strategic planning project in the city council budget. So that's where that shows up.
Oh, great, take our money, huh?
Yeah, we're going to make you guys look like your budget's going up, right? So city attorney costs are, it's a little bit of a Las Vegas dice roll every year because you never know exactly. There are some things that you can count on that are going to be there, but you never know exactly what's going to happen in terms of potential litigation, projects that hit us that we aren't aware of when we do the budget. So the best you can do is kind of track them, do your best to estimate at the front end of the process, and then track them carefully throughout the year. And we know that that's been a subject of a lot of focus from particularly the new city council members to really watch our city attorney budget. This talks about the city attorney mission statement and what his role is. And of course, he's not just the city of Port Hueneme city attorney, he also is the general counsel for the Housing Authority, the Surplus Property Authority, and the Port Hueneme Water Agency. And you'll see the significance of that in a minute because we do budget some money each year for city attorney services in the water fund, for example. So what we did for the city attorney budget this year is we assumed a total general fund amount of $240,000, basically averaging out $20,000 a month. Keep in mind that we moved, and we talked about this when we talked about the human resources budget on Thursday, May 31st. We moved that $135,000 into the human resources budget. So it was all lumped together in the past, and that's for our labor negotiations and all of our labor-related legal services. That has now been pulled out and put into a separate line item within the HR budget. And that'll assist us with some of the tracking of those things as well.
Where is that line?
Where's the 240?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see.
Okay, I see the 240,
Yeah.
but where's the other amounts?
That's in the human resources budget. So I don't think we passed that out tonight, but it was in your May 31st package. We talked about, we gave you a detailed line item for HR, so it's in there.
Right.
135.
But, let me see if this, okay, so in the mid-year report, it showed for 17-18, $429,000 for city attorney fees. And then we noted that there's other, not just Charles Green's firm, but there's some other firms in there. So we're trying to figure out how we got to that number. So so I'm understanding you say that 240 of it is Charles Green's.
Yeah,
right?
so for this new year, starting on July 1st, we're budgeting $240,000 for general fund services from Green D. Bortnowski. And then we also have plugged in $15,000, 15, in attorney's fees in the water fund that would potentially go to Green D. Bortnowski, and an additional $30,000 in the solid waste enterprise fund. The $15,000 in the water fund just reflects projects that are specifically water-related for the enterprise fund that Charlie and his firm would do in a given year. The reason the $30,000 is in the solid waste fund for this next year, and it may be a little bit of overkill, but we wanted to aim high rather than low with that one. The Industrial Way property that we are in the process, we are in escrow now, selling to a private firm, that all of the work associated with that is charged to solid waste because that is a solid waste fund building. The proceeds of that sale will go back to the solid waste enterprise fund. So any time that Charlie and his firm spend on that, we feel it's appropriate to charge the solid waste enterprise fund rather than that 240 general fund. So if you take the 240, the 15, and the 30, if I'm doing my math right, it's a total of 285.
Well, it's not 429.
Right.
So that's what I'm trying to get
Oh,
at.
okay, well, yeah, so the 429 included all of that HR-related, labor relations, HR investigations, all of that.
Right, and I think that's what myself in particular would like to take a look at in terms of trying to reduce our attorney fees. But,
The HR component of it?
yeah, and so it'd be nice to see a breakdown how 429,000 was spent.
Good, I
How's
think,
that?
yeah, I think
I
you're,
understand that, but we'd still like to take a look at it so that we could evaluate how we're spending $429,000.
right.
I mean, that's not,
Yeah, check your,
it's a
yeah,
very
check your
reasonable
email today,
request,
and
okay.
we'll get it to the rest of the council too, because we got that
Right, and then-
detailed breakdown to you earlier
right, and then the
today.
only thing that I'm a little troubled with right now is, you know, it's listed here $429,000 for 17-18. And so, would love to see an accounting of that. 240 to Green's office, okay. And then there's almost another $180,000 somewhere else. So we'd like to see that. Where was it spent? I don't think,
Well, if you're talking about the actuals from 17-18, we've got that, and that's what we sent you earlier today. We'll send it to the
Okay.
rest of the council as well, so they have it.
yeah.
Councilmember Schnapp?
So, Mr. City Manager, I believe that charging forward versus charge back, because usually in a corporation, you know, if they're using, say, the graphic design team or another team, they then get charged for those costs. So I think by removing those or pre-allocating them to the different divisions so that they could use a separate pot of money to, you know, engage the green group to look at those items for their group alone is a wise way of doing this. I really like this versus lumping it all into, you know,
Yeah.
the services under the CM, and then we ask those questions that Councilmember Gama asked, you know, where did this money go? But I think doing it this way is the right way, and I believe that this could help us answer those questions and move forward this way would be a good thing.
Yeah, and I think the more detailed we can get, especially if we can charge non-general fund work to the appropriate non-general fund source,
Yeah.
is the smartest way to go.
Yes.
The best way to go.
So the final figures that you have, that you're projecting for the coming year, why have they changed from last year and the previous years? What is the driving force as far as you coming up with those figures?
Yeah,
Is there more of something happening or less of something happening, or?
Yeah, we know that in 17-18, there was a lot of cannabis-related activity. That's when we did the ordinance. That's when Charlie worked on the development agreements, all of that, you know, the original development agreement, but then the agreement for each of those businesses that came forward during that period of time. There was just a huge effort, and some of it actually wasn't even to Charlie's firm. We had to bring in an interim person between Hensley Law Group leaving and Charlie coming on board. That was right when the kind of the dog days of the ordinance creation. We brought in a rather expensive firm to work on keeping the ordinance going during that time until Charlie arrived. So I think the biggest reason that we're projecting that total legal expenses will go down a little bit in 1920 is the less cannabis-related activity and not having to do all that groundwork on cannabis.
Other questions?
All right, the
Okay.
most important one, city council budget, which is a pretty simple one, not a particularly large one. Again, I think you know your primary activities, so your mission statement and primary activities are there. We won't read through all of that.
Thank you. Move on.
Just a couple notes. I mentioned just a couple minutes ago, we did include the strategic plan, Christine Grimm, ARIA Consulting, in the city council budget, since that was kind of a council-driven project. So the full amount of that project for 1920 is in the city council budget. I also, and I will tell you, I was not pressured at all by any member of the council to do this. I did it at my own initiative. We increased $1,000 in each of your training and travel budgets for 1920, with the idea being that we're trying, especially with so many new members, but just in general, we're trying to encourage the council being trained, being informed, getting out there, going to networking, going to league events. You don't have to do this. This is, again, something I came up with. Total of, I wasn't a math major, but I think 1,000 times 5, it impacts the budget by 5,000 total. So you can let us know if that's something you're comfortable with or not, but you would each have $2,500 for each fiscal year. And keep in mind, the RDP 21 always has had its own line item, so that's a separate pot of money.
It still has that separate line item, still?
That's right. Yeah, in fact, we may have even bumped that up. I think we bumped that up $500 to make sure that whoever goes to RDP 21 next year will
Trying to look
have
for
their
that
costs.
now. Where can I find it?
Let's see.
Yes. Yes.
Mr. City Manager, the other day, Mayor Berg and I were talking, and I think both of us together came up with an idea that might fit into this, and I just wanted to run it by you real quick while others are looking through paper. So, could we, as say, couple council members, devise a, I don't know what the right word would be, maybe definitely not vacation, but maybe a, visit, fact-finding, or go visit beach cities with the pier, look at what they're doing, look what's successful, look what's not, look how they set up their volleyball courts, if we're considering to do the same, and look for good beach community ideas that are working for them, and then bring back to the city maybe some recommendations like, hey, look at this looks good. And I really think we need to do that because particularly down in the beach area, we're constantly learning, and perhaps there's an answer for us out there down the road, either north or south. So I don't know how to put something like that together, but I just wanted to bring it up and think that it would be very productive for the city.
Yes. And I believe now with this increase in the individual stipends that we will have enough money in the budget to do that.
No,
I don't think council members have even spent what was in there in
Right.
total.
right.
So there's enough money if we need to go to,
If I may, Mr. Mayor, based on, many years I've been doing this, I think that it's good for you to have an individual amount that you can count on for your own education.
Yes.
And that you should be encouraged to use that because it makes you better council members. I think that's an excellent idea that Mr. Gama just mentioned, but you should probably appropriate some amount just for that so that the two members who go don't have to exhaust their own education, which could be better spent in terms of education. That's a benefit to the whole city, whereas the education budget is to make each individual more informed. So that would be my recommendation. I just think it's important that you have that education fund available for you, that you go to league meetings, that you participate, that you learn out there. It will pay dividends. Recommendation.
thoughts? Is that what you were thinking, have a separate line item,
wouldn't be
not
that
committed to any
Right.
one?
Yeah, I think it's an excellent idea.
How much? Laura?
I think down the road, we might have an opportunity to figure out what we want to do
Our
and why we,
strategic plan.
where we want to go and why we're going there, and then who's going to go, and we can come up with a budget and then bring it back for approval.
So don't
the
actually
council.
even make
Don't
an
plug
I don't
item.
anything
think-
in at this
yeah,
point.
not at this point.
Just handle it ad hoc as we see the
We'll
necessity.
plan for it when it comes up later on. in the
Sure.
year.
But the only
It's part
thing,
of our goal setting.
the only thing I want to avoid is, for example, we have volleyball courts out there that really aren't in line with beach volleyball standards. So if we, as a city, are going to prioritize recreation, i.e. beach volleyball, then let's go find out who's got the best beach volleyball courts and then try and bring it here, is what I'm trying to articulate.
Understand. And we do have that on the budget right now. We have new nets for the beach. It's on the Parks and Recreation budget. But I see where Steve's coming from, and I think what I hear saying is now create we'll find the money. if
When we're ready to.
When we decide that, we're gonna take a trip. We're not gonna put anything in the budget specifically right now.
You know, and it could be where we use the community enhancement budget that comes up because it's a benefit for both. So, there's different pots that we can draw from to do that.
Perhaps, yes.
That's good.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, last thing under city council budget, Councilmember Gama mentioned at our last workshop the whole issue of potential health coverage for council members. As we mentioned last time, we are investigating that. We'll be coming to the council with the information on how that would work, but we have not factored any costs for that if the council decides to do that down the road, just like we haven't built in numbers for the labor negotiations that are going on now. We'll deal with that as a mid-year adjustment down the road.
Okay.
So
Good.
yeah, that's
Is that it?
the city council budget. We're scheduled next to go to
Facilities
Yeah,
maintenance?
housing and facilities maintenance. I wanted, if the council's okay with it, to bring Mr. Tanner up quickly to talk about information technology, since that's kind of part of administration.
Let me find where that is in here now.
Sure, okay.
It was the extra.
What page is
The
it?
extra 2 pages. The
Jen-
extra 2 he just handed us out.
Is that right? Is it the ones you just gave us?
Oh, yeah, sure.
So unfortunately, our IT manager could not be here, so I am filling in for him. And I'll just go through
That's
this.
all right, you're better looking than he is.
Oh, thank you
anyways.
very much for saying that. I'm gonna make sure to let him know.
And I'll tell him myself, I said
Notice I
that.
did laugh.
It's probably the hair, but.
Must be the hair.
Must be.
So, we do have a number of anticipated projects in other departments where IT is going to be providing a lot of support, especially when it comes to any kind of finance replacement software, records management system, agenda management system. Also, the police has a number of issues, and that will require a lot of support from the IT division moving forward, because there's the actual installation of the software, there's working out the bugs, there's training, there's all sorts of, issues that are gonna come up, unknown issues that are come up when we make that transition, in addition to the regular kind of day-to-day activities of, computer replacement or setting up new accounts for new employees and those sorts of items, so. We are proposing to add a full-time IT technician in 2019, 2020. And this is due to the, one, increased workload, but also, right now, our current staffing is one full-time manager and then one part-time manager. And with, we just filled the part-time, and right now, the division is in what you'd say a reactionary mode. Problems come up, and then the IT department has to come in and fix whatever bugs or problems that may exist. We feel that with the increased staffing level, we're going to be able to much better plan for the future and actually come up with some sort of technology plan, like a 5-year plan that, that we can put into place that we can address the city's need long-term. It's going to be really important too when we, upgrade and implement these new systems. So for the cost, the increase for replacement desktop computers, almost 50,000 for the year one of the budget, and 15,650 for year two of the budget. We're also looking at an annual increase in finance management system of about 10%, which is $11,000. And with any kind of software system, there's going to be just annual increases. It's just a matter of how much. Typically, they're anywhere between 5 and 10%, depending on what the update or what the upgrade is going to be, whether or not they're moving to the cloud or staying in-house. And with the addition of the one full-time employee, that'll have an impact of, we're estimating, just over 114,000 total. And that,
114 is,
I'm sorry?
ask a question.
Please, yes.
That 114 is the total of all?
Salary and benefits for
Salary
the
and
full-time
benefits?
technician.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So you'd have a total of what, 2.5 FTEs?
2.5.
Okay.
Councilmember Ghana? I see your mind, it's spinning, it's turning. Any other questions? Councilmember Schnott?
Yes, thank you. So on the summary, and this is probably more for the city manager here, major projects, the agenda management software, it would be here, it would be housed under general government, that amount?
It would be under the city clerk division. So each individual project is housed in whatever department that is in, but all of the support and background and work, a lot of it's going to be done by IT.
Document management software, who's that?
The city clerk.
Yeah.
So then the citywide computer replacement you talked about is going to be housed under this group here.
Yes.
If you could go
Yes.
back one slide, maybe?
Let's see.
Maybe another one?
This one?
There.
Okay.
So, okay. So because we're doing a 2-year budget, this one summary is only the 1 year, so that's why I only see one number there. Okay, 49,700, okay. And then, okay, all right, thank you.
Good. Other questions? Good, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And now we'll move forward to, we called it housing and facilities maintenance. Yeah, Gabby. I think that Gabby is going to do facilities only tonight. I think we're going to do the housing budget on Monday night as part of the Housing Authority meeting that will be on your agenda. So she will be,
I'm sorry, say that again.
yeah, so she'll just, tonight, we'll just be looking at facilities maintenance, the facilities division.
Got it. Okay. Which is not here at all. Yeah, I got it here, but it's nowhere in here.
Unless it was in Public Works.
The facility maintenance? It is. It's
It
on the
would be in
staff
Public
report.
Works?
Um,
We got recreation totals, Public Works totals, Police Department totals, Community Development totals, and housing totals.
So,
Looking at the staff report, there's not a separate dimension of that.
yeah,
Right,
it would be
okay.
within Public Works.
So we just go here, all right.
It would be within Public Works, okay.
Good evening, Mayor.
Good
Mayor Pro
evening.
Temp, take a break, and members of the council. I'm going to be presenting just the facility maintenance side of it. The mission statement, sorry,
Yep.
got a little bit hectic there. The mission statement for facility maintenance is the division provides citizens, employees, and visitors with a safe, clean, and healthy community. The department is responsible for delivering high-quality and cost-effective custodial services. So, for facility maintenance, we take a little bit less than $1 million of the general fund, which equals to 5%. The biggest changes for the next fiscal year is the reclassification of the clerical aide to an administrative 3 position. Down below, you will see a chart. Staff is requesting that 30% of that position be funded by the general fund. The other 70% will be funded by the Housing Authority, and that also includes my position. Under the general fund, we fund also 5 facility maintenance workers, and 1 is a lead. And this is the organizational structure that we would be looking at come 2019, 2020.
Is this fully staffed right now?
This is fully staffed right now, yes.
Okay.
And I will apologize in advance, but the facility maintenance division, we are going to be included as part of the capital, the 5-year capital improvement. So you will not see any of our projects here. We're going to do that in collaboration with other departments, with recreation, with public works. So we are going to be included in that 5-year capital grant, and I will take any questions that you may have.
Now, theoretically, you would work with any of the departments that had some need for a facility upgrade or what have you, right?
That's correct.
Okay, Councilmember Schnapp.
Yes, thank you, Gabby. Can you go back to, not the org chart, the one before that? Yes, this one. So when we have facilities, but they're housing facilities, the general fund is getting hit for the folks that are working on it, or how does that work?
No, and I thank you for asking that question. I came prepared. So
Yeah,
I'm going to,
you know,
Yeah, no.
I just want to clarify it. Because I know that's not the truth, but, you know, just asking.
No, I did come prepared for that question. So what you're getting is a sample of a daily sheet. This is what the facility maintenance department fills out every day. As you can see, on the top, you will have city, and on the bottom, you will have the housing authority. It is split by their time. So what happens is when a work order goes out through our HTE system, we are tracking time. So that way we have, everybody at the end of the year should have 2,080 hours, if that's with annual leave, you know, bereavement, whatever it is. Those hours should total 2,080, and then it gets split. Then we can determine what the housing authority needs to be charged for if there's additional charges, and what should hit the general fund.
So then we true up at the end of the year. We true all these up to be 100%, but it would be portioned out.
That is correct. And on next week, we have 2 additional facility maintenance workers that are being charged fully to the housing authority, and you will see that in my presentation. So there can be numerous people working. I can have, during an emergency, I can have 4 people in the housing authority, and that means all 4, their hours would be charged for the housing authority.
Okay.
Good.
All right, thank you.
Councilmember Rollins.
Yes, on the organizational chart, I noticed that, like, the facility maintenance workers, they report directly to you. What role does the lead play? I mean, and how does that work out as opposed to, you know, them reporting to the lead, or I don't know if that's a supervisorial position.
So the lead, the guys do report to me. They're all under me. The facility maintenance lead is tasked with making sure that they all have their work assignments for the day. So obviously I can't split myself in so many
Sure.
areas. The facility maintenance lead comes every day to my office, gets work orders, and then they are split among the crew,
Are they evaluated then by the lead or directly by you?
by both. They will be with opinion from the lead, and I also get the daily sheets. Also, those are being reviewed by me on a weekly basis. I'm seeing the work that they are doing, so that'll be part of their evaluation also.
Okay.
Good. Other questions?
Thanks for the tracking.
You're welcome.
Now, Housing Authority, right?
Actually, she's going to present Housing Authority Monday night when you put on your Housing
So I
Authority
should
hat.
hold on to these pages here.
Yeah,
Section 8 overview, hold on to that too.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Monday night.
Okay.
Or no? Public
Modernization
Works?
grant, account overview, hold that too?
Yes.
Okay. And Public Works General Fund overview is next then?
Yeah,
Okay.
come on up.
When are we going to hear this? When are we going to hear the housing overview again?
Monday night.
Next
You'll-
Monday?
Yeah, you'll put on your Housing Authority Board hats and hear it then.
Good. I'll put it in my, right in here then.
Good evening, City Council. I've got hard copies of the presentation.
Good, thank you.
You would,
Sure.
So this is Public Works overview. You know, our mission statement, we're dedicated to maintaining and enhancing the quality of life throughout Port Hueneme and providing the highest quality of public works services and maintaining our infrastructure and to meet the needs of our community. Then we're just a brief recap of the difference between general fund dollars and enterprise fund dollars. I believe the finance director has discussed this several times with the city council. But the general fund are the sales tax and fees and other things. And that goes to support the police, the streets, parks, planning, community development, and administrative services. And then we have our enterprise funds, which are dedicated to solid waste, wastewater, and water. So those are the two funds that Public Works is operating on. Public Works consists now of 6 divisions. Facilities was transferred again to housing. And we maintain the streets, the sewers, the storm drains, signs, traffic signals, landscape, maintenance of the city parks, streets, beach sand maintenance, and much more. We provide the waste collection, the water distribution, and responsible for the Port Hueneme Water Agency water plant. This is how we're funded and we're broken down. We've got general funded divisions, streets, there's 3 FTEs, engineering 2 FTEs, and landscape 7.5. And the asterisk note that these divisions are partially funded with gas tax and enterprise funds because we can charge labor and time to the gas tax funds. So some of the street work is taken up with that. And also when the streets crews are working on a water line repair like they were today at Pacific Cove, their time is tracked and that time is billed to the water department. Our enterprise funded divisions are our water division and PHWA. We have 9 FTEs. Our wastewater, we have 5 FTEs, and solid waste, 11. What we're requesting, Public Works is requesting new positions, and this is the fund splits. A Public Works operation technician, and you can see that it's going to be 90% enterprise fund and 10% ISF, so it's no general fund impact. And again, operations technician, again, 90% enterprise. We're asking for 2 of those positions. We're asking for a solid waste lead operator, and that's 100% enterprise fund, solid waste enterprise fund. Public Works administrative assistant, 100% enterprise fund. And that's really to give us a little redundancy. We have, right now we have administrative assistants, but we have no backup, and we still have a need for, with additional regulations coming down the line, we need additional help and support. And that's what that position is for, and that's 100% funded by enterprise fund. I'm asking for another water operator lead. I think the council is well aware that we have aging infrastructure. We have a number of water line leads. I need another lead operator to help assist with the work in the field. And we'd have a lead operator in distribution, a lead operator in treatment, and they would rotate. But that's what that's for, and that's 100% funded by the Water Enterprise Division. Landscape lead worker, that is 100% general fund. That's what we're asking for. In engineering aid years ago was in the budget. It was eliminated. We're asking for it to come back. 25% of that would be funded by gas tax and 50% enterprise fund, and 25% would be general fund. That person would assist Mr. Cable and I in a number of projects and assist in working with encroachment permits, assisting in doing some of the legwork for some of our sidewalk maintenance plan that we're trying to implement. So that's what that engineering aid would be doing. And also with assisting in projects with water, and some general fund projects would be approximately 25%. And if you approve the budget, the Public Works request will add 1.25 full-time equivalents funded from the general fund.
And Don,
Yes.
I'm asking my next question regarding this next slide that you're
Oh,
showing. Go
okay.
ahead and roll it on. The Deputy Public Works Director, is that the Steve Hickox position?
Yes, it is. Yes.
And that's, you're not asking for that now?
No, we are. No, that's never been vacant. It's been vacant.
But it's being funded?
Yes, it's currently funded.
Okay.
The previous slide were new positions we're asking for.
Oh, okay.
Those
Okay.
were new positions. No,
Okay, I understand now. Thank you.
so, right now we have 42 total positions and 10
I
vacancies.
think so, yeah.
We've got 4 general fund vacancies, 2 in landscape, a construction inspector. I really need the construction inspector as we're gearing up for both water and paving projects, and we have a street maintenance worker vacancy. Our street maintenance worker went over to facilities. Enterprise funded vacancies, we have a water utility operator 1 that we're in the process of filling, a water resources inspector that's been vacant for over 6 months, a wastewater maintenance worker, solid waste operator 2, and of course, the old Steve Hickox position, which has been vacant for over a year.
Yeah.
All right. Oops, that was backwards. All right, here's our pie chart, and you can see in relation to the other departments where Public Works comes in with respect to the general fund. Public Works is 11% of the general fund, which is just $2,122,595. And that's our overview. Are there any questions?
Yeah. Why have you asked for a lead worker versus a supervisor? It seems like you have a wide area that you're responsible for, and a lead would not be a supervisor per se of the maintenance, park maintenance staff. Why have you? What was your rationale behind a lead worker as opposed to a supervisor, somebody that would supervise over the maintenance workers?
Well, we want a working lead, and we're trying to operate as lean as possible, and rather than have a person in there in a supervisory role that is a non-working position, we want a lead that is part of the crew.
Would they have supervisorial responsibilities over the basic maintenance workers or not?
They would have some, they would be, again, very similar to how Gabriella explained it. They would, Mr. Charles Cable, the principal engineer, he handles the landscape division. That lead worker would report to Mr. Cable and work with Mr. Cable in setting priorities and then implementing the priorities that Mr. Cable has laid out, and making sure that the regular landscape workers are on schedule and taking care of the work as laid out. But that person would be a working lead.
Okay.
What's progress on getting these 10 vacancies filled? How are we doing on that?
It's all over the map. Some are, let's see, interviewed for streets recently.
Right, the street
interviewed
worker.
for.
Is that a sensitive question? Should I have not asked that?
No, it's just,
Well,
yeah, no, we're just frustrated with the fact that we have so many vacancies. On the other hand, a lot of cities are in the same position. Some of it has to do with just the economy being as good as it is.
They can find better paying jobs elsewhere.
And there's also some internal with all the turmoil in our HR department over the last year, that's having an impact. So that's why we appreciate the HR manager, the approval of the HR manager position, because when that person gets on board, which is another recruitment we're doing now, that'll be the first task for that person is really to get our recruitment and hiring process in order,
Okay.
so that hopefully, the speed will increase.
Okay.
No, we are working on it. It's frustrating, but, we're juggling many things, and I've got a great staff, and they're working hard to do that.
Thank you. Councilmember Schnott.
Yes, so thank you, Mr. Villafana. The amounts that you have here, so the new requested positions, so if they affect the general fund, you have them here noted, the portion?
Yes, we do. Those are the portions. Let's see, let me go back to that slide.
So like the landscape lead worker, you're asking for a new
That's-
position, 100%?
Yes, that is a
that's in
new
here?
position. That is 100% general funded. That is, as you can see, that is the only position that's fully funded by the general fund. The engineering aid is a quarter funded. All the other positions we're requesting are all funded by enterprise fund. And, the water operator lead, I need to gear up because we have, as I said today, we were out at Pacific Cove doing a water line lateral repair. So I need an additional lead in the field to help out. And we're trying to be as proactive as possible. We're getting ready to pave the Bolker Park area. We've had a number of water line leaks there, but we've sounded all the water laterals. And we did that because we didn't want to be cutting into a new street. We did that. We did the same thing in portions of Hueneme Bay. And so that's part of the reason. I would like to be able to sound all the laterals in the Pacific Cove area. And by having an additional water operator or water lead, that would be something I could task that person to get done.
And I know that with capital improvement that we know needs to happen, right, for your department. We can't clone you. But there will be those projects plus plus everything else, plus personnel and, making sure all the departments are running. I feel as though we need someone that would be your second in command that could handle maybe some day-to-day so you can work with consultants or they could work with the consultants and you can handle the day-to-day. So I'm thinking that, we may need someone else here during that time that we're really focusing in on going into our water system and really shoring everything up.
Well, that's part of the reason I'm requesting. Mr. Charles Cable, our principal engineer, he's doing an excellent job. He's juggling a lot of things too. That's why we're requesting the landscape lead, because that'll take some of the burden off of Mr. Cable. Right now, we don't have a landscape lead, and Mr. Cable is basically filling that position among all the other duties that we have him doing. So that'll provide an intermediary and free up a little bit more of his time. The same thing with the engineering aid. By filling that position, it'll free up a little bit more of my time and Mr. Cable's time so that he can handle some additional things, and that'll give me a little more additional time to deal with some of the water issues, because that really right now, for me, is a main focus, and especially now that Mr. Akbar has left the PHWA, I will be attending all of the M&I meetings, so that'll take up more of my time. And of course, the big thing will be filling the old Steve Hickok's position, because that'll free up some more of my time, and hopefully we get a journeyman on board that can assist me in shepherding through the capital projects that are outlined in the Water Master Plan.
So, one more thing. So I just feel that we're not releasing you from some of the ongoing projects that daily occur, that annually occur, to head up this large capital improvement program. And so I'm feeling as though there could be another person that may be needed, and maybe that's an adjustment in the budget later on, but I'm feeling that there's more weight we need to lift off your shoulder in order to get our bigger projects done. I'm just trying to be fair and saying that this may not be all of it, because I believe that there could be someone else too.
That would be greatly appreciated. We could look at it, you know, what we would probably bring in is someone at a senior engineer level to assist Mr. Cable and run with the ball a little bit more, and that would free up some of my time.
And maybe it's a permanent person, maybe it's a consultant, maybe
Right.
it's, you
That's
know
what I
what
kind
I
of
mean?
Thinking about, do we, since now we're finally going to have some money to invest in these big ticket projects,
Yeah.
do we have to have that debate. Do we bring someone in-house, make them a regular city employee, or do we have a contract
Yeah.
consulting firm that basically serves as a capital projects manager?
Just a thought.
Councilmember Rollins?
Yeah, right now, while we have money to be able to invest in these different capital improvement projects, I think one of the key things is to be able to get them accomplished in a timely manner. And so maybe for a short term, we need to contract out somebody to assist you to kind of be able to do all the budgeting and, follow through with all these different projects so that in fact they're done,
No, I don't see a list.
now that we have the funds to be able to do something like that.
But we did not include a capital project list in this. This was an overview. It was our understanding that we would be presenting a CIP at a later date,
Yes,
and
Yeah.
so
we know about that capital budget. On the current slide that we're looking at now, what's the chances of getting some dollar amounts on these positions?
Be easy.
Not now.
It'd be easy. We've got dollar costs for all of them already. We just didn't put
Good.
them on a slide, so
I think we'd
we'll
like to
bring
see-
that back
I think
for
we- yeah.
We
the
can-
next time.
We'd
we'll
like to
note
see
that
those.
and we'll bring that back.
Good, thank you. Other questions?
Some, though, you could see the changes.
Any other questions?
I'd like to make a comment. What's the plan to deal with the medians? I noticed that our roadway mediums they used to be covered with ivy, and now it's covered with dirt. And I noticed that it appears that we've given up completely on the right side of Ventura Road because it's all dirt. It used to be covered in vegetation. I noticed that a lot of sprinklers aren't working and broken, so I'm just wondering, I think we need to prioritize those areas, keep them looking good and all that. So I'm wondering, I know you have a shortage of landscape people and clearly there are landscape issues, so what's the plan for that?
Are you referring to what would be the west side of Ventura Road along the frontage of the Navy base? What side are you
If
talking?
I'm traveling that way, the right side.
Okay, as you're traveling northbound, it would be the right side. We're going to have to look at it and see what the plant palette is for the city. We want to use something, of course, that is, water, limits water usage.
Well, if my memory serves me correct, it used to be covered in vegetation, as was the medium all the way down. Now we have pockets of where the ivy has gone away and it's dirt.
We'll have to, we'll have to take a look at it and see what we can do there. We're constantly repairing irrigation, and we want to use low flow heads and use landscaping that minimize water usage. So we'll take a look at that. We can do certainly do a strip map and identify the plants that are there, and then give a recommendation for the bare areas. And we can come back and present that to the council at a later date. Mr. Cable handles landscape, and I know he'd be glad to come back here and do that.
So a couple years ago, it was discovered that the city wasn't paying for water, and then they started paying for water, and it kind of came out during the drought because everyone's cutting back on their water usage and the water's flowing all over the parks and stuff. So is that a part of this new issue? Did we cut back watering because of increased expenses?
Well, we had a water shortage and we went to drought measures as far as watering. But with respect to, yes, the city had not been paying for it, but they are. And when we talked about the assessment districts, that's why the charges were now going to, general fund was subsidizing part of the landscape and median assessment district because that was the cost of the water, which had previously not been accounted for. But we are still in a drought condition. Those restrictions have not been lifted. Again, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to come back and take a look at what is there now, the areas that are dirt, and we'll come back at a future date and make a presentation to council with recommendations so that you'll get a chance to see what we're planning for those areas.
Other questions? Councilmember Rollins?
Yeah, I would hope maybe in the future capital improvement plan, not only what Stephen had just mentioned regarding the medians not only there but on Wainimi Road. I guess it's kind of been a problem consistent, and that that we come up with a plan to have xeriscape type plantings that will look attractive to the city but would minimize the amount of water. Also, keep in mind, like we had talked about it earlier, the whole tree situation, doing some kind of inventory so that we can begin to identify trees that have had their life expectancy, and we have some kind of a plan as to progressively replanting or removing trees that are have seen their life. And then finally, the city hall itself. I know when I've gone out there, there's blank spots where there should be something there that may be, water efficient, but because that's kind of what people come in to pay their bills or come into, and that should be somewhat, that we should be showing an example on how we can plant efficiently that with water saving plants, but also can be attractive. So.
No, I agree. Those are two of the things that the landscape lead worker and the engineering aide would be assisting Mr. Cable with. That would free up some of his time so that the engineering aide, I could see very well putting together that strip map that I was just referring to, and then going out and inventorying the blank areas and taking pictures and assisting in the presentation, making of a PowerPoint presentation so we could make that presentation to council, showing a strip map, areas where we have bald spots or areas with no vegetation, and then recommendations. That engineering aide would be doing some of the legwork to assist Mr. Cable to put that presentation together. The landscape lead worker would be taking some of the load off to Mr. Cable so that he could address some of those issues and present that. So yes, we would love to do that, and we're hoping to do that.
Sorry,
Councilmember Gama.
if I may, you just reminded me, a resident, I'm not sure if I forwarded this to you, Mr. City Manager, I apologize if I didn't, but a resident sent me an email about dead pine trees in Miranda Park, and they've been dead a long time. So, maybe we could set a goal as one tree a week, maybe. I mean, maybe we could just try to make progress, because those pine trees are with a lot of flammable material stuck in them and around them. So I'm not sure if I did forward that. I'll make sure I do again.
Great, thank you.
Okay, other questions, comments? Anything else that we need to have them assigned to? Thank you very much, Mr. Villafana.
Thank you.
Now, next on this is going to
Yeah.
be the special revenue funds?
Actually, no, we wrap it up with, at least according to my agenda, we wrap it up with finance department.
Okay, but the special revenue funds is something different than what we've been looking at.
Yeah, that's right.
And now we go to finance.
That's it.
Don't expect a lot, I'm Andrew.
You don't have a copy,
Police
of-
chief
you don't have a
is
copy of your
media-
PowerPoint?
He's a media rock star, I'm not even in his league.
Okay, slow down though, don't get started yet, I'm looking for your pages in here.
It's the last two.
Only 2 pages?
I think so.
Let's see, streets, okay, we go again. Oh, wait a minute, okay. Okay. There we go, okay, yeah. Finance Department, 2 pages, yeah?
Yep, the
Okay.
summary and then the detail.
All right,
And we'll start off with our mission statement and the fact that we provide the reliable accounting, pay the bills on time, and all that kind of stuff. That's pretty typical and standard. Our finance department is now fully staffed. We plan to bring in our new employees on Monday to kind of introduce them to the city, but they've been here.
who are the new ones?
The bottom two, Mandy Jaquez and Fabian Castellon.
Mandy Hawkes.
Hawkes. And, and they've been here for, I think, about it was May 13th, so they're coming up on their first month.
I ran into Fabian the other day, and he was very helpful,
Good.
very professional, engaged in conversation, did a great job, so.
Yeah, dealing with people when they're having difficulty paying their bills, that is really the most challenging part of their interaction, and they've both been doing really good, and when they both started on the same day, their training has been real efficient, so we're real happy with that movement. And now everybody else is not covering those cashier duties, they're able to work on other stuff, so
Yeah.
it's been a real
Job
plus.
started well, is job half done.
And the other new employee is Robert Rocha. He's our accountant that started at the end of March. The big challenge and opportunities for us is the impending retirements of 2 long-term employees. And I think this, I might be harping on it, but the aging and inefficient and cumbersome accounting system that we have. A couple things that we don't have indicated there that I really want to do with that last point is get a new system in place and change to, rather than every 2-month billing, to a monthly billing. I think it'll make it easier for everybody to budget and according, for their own personal finances. But rather than doing the process once a month, we'll be doing it 2 to 4 times a month. So it's getting the staff used to that, and it's a pretty big transition to go to, but I think the public will be real receptive. We're doing some ADA improvements in the lobby and the entry to City Hall, and we're hoping to get 2 windows with an ADA window and a regular window. Once we get that, then we can start figuring logistics of how we're going to do it. It is a big project, but I think once we get through it, I think everybody, staff and the public will be real happy with it. And the big note in our budget here that's the only real difference or exceptions or highlights is we're funding the Deputy Finance Director position. It was authorized in the budget, but we had defunded it for getting some other things in place in order. Terry has been here with me helping out with a lot of those things that, with all the changes that we had, it was just so demanding. We're finding that if we go into a new system, that secondary finance manager, a deputy finance director will be real helpful in instituting some of these changes.
So you had it funded, then you defunded it, and you're asking to fund it again now?
Exactly.
Okay.
And then the accounting manager position is one that was funded maybe 2 or 3 years ago. We had eliminated that when I first got here. Now we're getting to the point with the pending retirements, we'd like to get some higher level accounting service so that we have that transition when somebody leaves, and it makes it smoother for refilling those newer positions.
We're trying to do succession planning with these positions, and long-term, one or a couple of these might be able to go away once the new people get more settled in. But as we approach these 2 major retirements,
Yes.
we just think it makes sense, especially with the city's financial fortunes improving quite a bit, to do it this way and try to make that transition as smooth as possible.
I would agree with that.
And then the biggest one that's on this slide is the estimate for the implementation of the new software system. We'll get better reflections of those when we get further into the capital sections, but it will be a long, big expense. The current system we have, I think we're on 12 years or 13 years with it. So I think if we go to this new system, it really should serve the city for at least the next decade or more. And that was it. Any details? And I think Laura had some questions about the report that we were going to get back to.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
In this. I think, if my memory is correct, it was fund balance and reserves.
Yeah, one thing is, why does it say we're only using 4 of the 5 categories of reserves? And which one
Yeah.
are we not using?
The one we're not using is the assigned fund balance. And that one, I pulled up on my phone the definition for it because it is kind of an unusual one, but it says amounts that are constrained by the government's intent, makes the council, the governing board, used for specific purposes, but are neither restricted legally or committed fund balance. So it's basically a plan for using those funds, but the council hasn't taken action, which if the council takes action, they become committed fund balance. And the restricted fund balance is usually your debt reserve that the person loaning you the money will say, you're gonna put this amount in reserve. So it's restricted, it's an asset for us, but we can't touch it and use it. And the committed is basically committed by the governing board for some future expenditure, and it hasn't happened yet, then that would be your fund balance that was committed. The biggest one, and what we were kind of highlighting, was the unassigned, which is kind of open and usable.
Laura?
Yeah, I got that. I just, I think the narrative just threw me off because it said there were 4 components and we're only using 4 of the 5, so which ones are we using? That was just my question
Yeah,
here.
and it was, we were so focused on the unassigned fund balance. When you said that, I was looking at it, I'm like, oh, yeah. And I was trying to think, I don't think I've ever been at a place that has had an assigned fund balance. It's either been committed, unassigned, or restricted. Those are the most common.
Okay, and I'm trying to find where the new computer system is on here. I'm assuming it's somewhere on page 3.
I don't think we have that in our operating budget, do we? Yeah, it'll be in our capital budget.
Capital budget.
And I'm hoping to get a little better cost estimates than the 1.2 million, which I think is still gonna be on the low side because they're gonna have a large component for converting the current system's data and different modules that fit into that.
Man, we're gonna have to have some bake sales or something. This is getting
Yeah,
nuts.
between general plan,
Yeah.
costs,
You go
and this.
Rich?
Yes, on this new system, and it's a fairly big amount, are you able to rather lease it or do it on payments over like a series of years, or do you have to buy it all at once? Or can you?
They'll usually have an annual operating cost if they charge you for it. You can buy the system outright, but then you have to purchase a lot of the hardware to house it. What the current mode that most people are going to is the cloud-based systems where you use the internet to hook up to their system and service and kind of start it from there. There's not really anything that would work for our complexity level that we could purchase or rent that would be any kind of savings without massively rechanging our entire structure. So it's not really even possible because of the complexity of having a water authority and then multiple funds and all those different things.
Good. Any other questions?
I just have a couple of comments.
Mayor Pro Tem?
I just wanted to thank staff for all their hard work on preparing these reports for us. And I had my first interview with Chris Grimm today, and we got into talking about our visions. And my vision for this budget process is to seek uniformity in the way the presentations are delivered by our staff and the way they appear in the documents, so that we can find our way around the numbers. And ideally, what I'd like to see is here is the current budget, here's our current level of service, this is what we're proposing, this is our justification for why we're proposing this increase or this change, and here's the new amount. And I would like to see something more geared toward that in future presentations, because I think it'll be easier for us to follow. And then organize things by departments, because I don't think this letter, the staff letter, really did that, at least for me. I had to kind of go through and write my notes as far as which department this item belonged to, so.
Yeah, the system that we have is so cumbersome. In order to do the salary projections for the positions and all this, it makes it so hard to put it all together. The ones that we were looking at that were the summary overviews, those we basically export the data from the system and then make those ourselves through, I think it might be Excel. But, you know, most of the systems will have that data and that reporting ability to show out. We've tried to keep it consistent with the mid-year to this for that last 141-page section, but it still is not really user-friendly. You can't adjust it to make it easy to read for the council, the
Right, well,
public.
yeah, and I'm not talking about the detail, I'm just talking about the overall amount which you can do manually very easily, I'm sure. Right? I mean, you could just you could pull those numbers from your reports and present them in the manner that I was speaking of.
Yeah, and that's just having enough staff that can do that, because it becomes labor intensive where somebody has to manipulate themselves, rather than what I'm talking about is having a system where it'll give you that report in a canned report that you don't have to manipulate, format, and redo it to make it look presentable.
Okay, that's just my suggestions and then my vision for the future. So, thank you.
Good ideas, and I think definitely what we were striving for in this, but trying to pull it all together with all the vacancies we had has been real tough for both the finance department and the different departments working with us. And this has been a collaborative effort. We could have never gotten to this point without the departments putting in their inputs, making sure they're correct, and going through all those little things. I mean, even in the one we have here, I think we found maybe 4 or 5 little minor errors, nothing noteworthy, but, you know, just little things that, in a perfect world, we'd like to give a document that's perfect and doesn't have any mistakes.
The other question I had is, why did we go back so far in years on the summaries? Why did we go all the way back to 2011, 12?
We had that data when we were doing the CAFR presentation, so, you know, this is where sometimes us finance people, oh, that's good, let's put more data in there. And
No.
it gives everybody this, you know, deer in the headlights look that, you know, and that's where trying to get the mind of the finance person to basically have everybody else kind of see that same thing is the trick.
Right, I mean, I can understand it if we're going to compare 2 years to the former 2 years, but I don't think we need to see all the rest, because to me, it was like, what's the significance of this? And it didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, and what's funny too is when you put in a lot of that kind of things, you may have like one significant event that when we had the storm damage at the pier, something like that happens, it causes an anomaly in 1 year, it goes out. If you have somebody that has the institutional memory that has been here, oh yeah, in 13, 14, this happened there, it's interesting information, but if it begs the question and we can't give the answer, then we have to do more research to figure out, why is that year so much higher? So sometimes too much data can backfire that way too. We do have, you know, some of that stuff, Terry put it together, so we had the data, we were like thinking about sharing it, but weren't thinking that it was going to be information overload.
Well, it wasn't really, but it was just kind of an annoyance to see, like,
Borderline.
you know, why is this here, and then move on. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
I think the Pro Tem's both points, she's speaking for all of us on that one, so.
I would like to focus on information underload. So, risk management, insurance costs, 64% increase this year over last year. I'm pretty sure that our spike in liability claims has died about 2.5, maybe 3 years ago. I don't think we've had a major liability claim since then. So, that's $950,000.
We had a
What you're going to
huge
find,
That's-
Stephen, with the JPA that we belong to, and this is real common with others too, is that there isn't, like when you have car insurance, if you get 4 accidents this year and your insurance rate goes up next year, there's a real quick nexus in there. With us, it won't happen. They're going to have a longer period of time. They keep them open. They have retrospective adjustments, and that's kind of where they deal with those past. So if you look on the line items, you'll see the liability portion doesn't change, but the retrospective adjustment goes up
That's my
large.
point.
And that's the
You're
past
just giving
losses.
us one number. You're not telling us what our liability costs are. You're not telling us what our workers' comp costs are. You're just telling us our insurance costs went up $950,000. So,
Because
I know, hold on. I'm a risk management professional and all that, okay, so I think I know this a little more than others, but I think those are important numbers to know where our losses are coming from. And, what are we going to do about it? We can't just say, well, the JPA raises our rates and we just take it. I mean, I think we need to, what's our plan? I mean, it's a little disheartening because we have a very positive budget and then, oh, FYI, we have an increase of $950,000 on our insurance. So my question is, what are we going to do about it? Are we just going to take it and I mean, our insurance costs have more than doubled since I've started paying attention to it.
Well, 2
4 years
years ago,
ago.
I think we were faced with either being kicked out of the JPA or they increased our deductible.
I understand
These
that.
items that you're talking about, the individual things, these are monitored, reported, and controlled by that JPA. So we don't really have a lot of control with that. Now, we're going to have risk management, things to lessen your risk, and they're going to produce some of that stuff. But we don't pay out the day-to-day things. That's what's paid through the JPA. So it's some of this
If your
is a function of the
insurance costs
JPA.
are going up, that means your claims are going up. They're going to recapture their costs. And so, again, I would like to drill down and see what the problem is. Why are we still experiencing these increased costs? Because that's significant. I mean, we have a great budget on the one hand, but, the information underload here is this is kind of just buried down over here. Let's hope, let's not focus on it, but I think we need to focus on it because
Yes.
it's $1 million.
Councilmember Schnott, don't I recall, was it only last year that we still paid out a couple of claims?
So, it's, if I could address what Councilmember Gama has said, there's a couple of things that are going on, is that JPIA, it's a pooled resource that over 100 municipalities and special districts belong to, because back in, I believe it was started in the 80s, is that they started to really see spikes in risk management. And so they realized that in order to control some of those costs, they had to develop this joint powers group for insurance purposes for municipalities. So, we would be in a world of hurt if we continued on with what was back in that history perspective. But what happens then is that with the performance improvement plan that the JPIA put us on a couple of years ago, and we went through and did everything that they called out, they specifically called out for the city to do and implement. That's part of the mitigation. That's part of where we don't want to go where we have been. We want to mitigate everything. We want to get everyone trained. City council had to go through mandatory training. Staff had to go to mandatory training, and it continues on. So we try to mitigate those risks by making sure everybody's educated, they're knowledgeable, they follow the rules, they, follow the HR process, everything. So we're looking at it from that standpoint. But I believe why we're seeing these things, there's two reasons, is that this city actually covers public service. And so when you're a city that covers your police department, you don't contract out to sheriffs, you have your own, you're going to see insurances at a larger amount possibly than just covering, city operations. And then you also have, unfortunately, is that past occurrences. Past occurrences of claims being made of, and it's not just those that have hit the newspaper, there have been other claims. And so JPIA handles everything, but then you look at really what the costs are from this pooled perspective, and they start then assigning, okay, this is what these groups of people will have to then pay in the future. So it's kind of retrospective about where we've been, but moving forward, we want to, with all the education and everything else that the JPIA does, we want to actually then, start controlling some of those things. But unfortunately, we had really ugly couple of years in the past, where now we might be paying for it.
Well, I understand what you're saying, and that's great. However, I think as an entity, you need to look at what are we doing here. So is this increase being driven by liability claims, which I suspect, or is it being driven largely by workers' comp? The fact that it's just one number just doesn't even let us.
122, it's the last section of that 141. You'll see the internal service fund.
Is it actually numbered?
Well, the very last 141 pages of that agenda packet is, go to 122. That's the internal service fund, the ISF,
Are you saying
for risk
page?
management, and it will have the general liability and the retro adjustment that's right before it, and the workers' comp insurance, and the retro.
Right, and I'll look at that, but again, I think, in a summary on the third page of the staff report, it'd be nice to get more information, like, okay, so we have a 64% increase in our insurance costs, X amount of it is attributed to the liability program, X amount is contributed to the workers' comp. Is it the police that are driving the claims, or is it not? I mean, all that's helpful information to help the policymakers make policies that are going to hopefully control the cost. And I've always, in our county, and I was a board member to the Ventura County Schools Self-Funding Authority, so that's a regional JPA, Joint Powers Authority, that's made up of the school districts of Ventura County. So we're a part of a bigger organization of 100 cities that are, most if not all of them are very much bigger than us. So I just think we need to spend more time looking at exactly what's driving these costs so that we could hopefully make better decisions down the road.
The JPIA is the one that's going to be knowledgeable enough to give you that information. I don't know if Rod or I.
Yeah, I was going to say it may be a valuable thing to have the JPIA come to a future council meeting and kind of walk through, again, since we have so many new council members. I know you've got professional expertise in this area, but have them talk about how they arrive at their charges for both workers' comp and liability, and how the retro works and all that stuff. So I can schedule that for a future. I'm not talking about before the budget's adopted, but after that, have them come out and we can all grill them on their current processes and how it impacts us specifically.
Councilmember Schnapp?
Yeah, two more things. So the JPIA just sent out, I think it was either yesterday or today, invitation to their upcoming risk management conference, which I totally support everyone on the dais going, because you hear about trends, you hear about what's going on in terms of cybersecurity. You hear, a couple of years ago they had an overview at the ending workshop about what happened when you have an active shooter in a community, to then what's going on in the general world of liability. And so that's a very valuable program. It happens in Indian Wells, and so take a look at your email because you might have received something. If not, Rod and I could probably forward something to you. So that would be first and foremost to become educated about what they do with insurance for us. And then it had to be about a year and a half ago where we went out and said, okay, the city council approved that we would spend some money to bring in a consultant to see if we could save money changing from the JPIA to someone else. And they interviewed all of us, and they interviewed, I think, city staff as well, and they went out shopping for us. And wouldn't you know it, is that many of them said no. I think one of them said, well, because you have, this department along with this, then we won't cover you. We can't piece it together for you to save any money. And so that was clearly to us saying, and that was at the same time we went through this performance improvement plan, we looked at bringing in another agency, and that was going to not be the best thing for us to do. So just want to let you know, because it was prior to your time.
So Rod, maybe if you could find that email for the conference.
Yeah, that's good.
Send it back
out to
around
everyone.
again.
I got it, 11 o'clock today.
Okay.
Oh, good.
Very good.
Okay, all right. That might be good. Take your golf clubs.
Indian Wells.
Yeah.
I
I
signed
am
up for
going.
that, right, as the
Okay, there you
alternate.
go. That'll be good.
So, there's a lot involved here, and it's not just that simple. And I think any business, private, public, if you're going to rely on an agency 100% of the time and just, not shop the market or look for alternatives, I think you get what you get. And so a 64% increase means that we're not doing a very good job in our risk management practices. I mean, because you got to cover your claims. You got to cover, the things that are going wrong. So I think it'd be nice if we could come back and get that more detail that tells us what's driving this $950,000 increase, because it's significant.
Another important thing too is if we were to leave the JPA, we would still be getting bills for those retro adjustments because we share in those expenses and those losses from those years.
I just want to re-emphasize, I'm suggesting that we understand what's driving this $950,000 cost increase. I'm not suggesting we leave the JPA. So, but I do think we need to understand what's going on here.
Okay, are there any other comments or questions, please? I have a couple.
Sure.
First of all, I'm looking at our schedule here, and I see that we have June the 17th, that's our Monday, June 17th? That's our Monday council meeting?
Yeah.
We're hoping to adopt the operating budget.
Right, so we have it on the agenda for the 17th. We can do one of two things. We can either
Pass it
actually
or not
move-
pass it.
Yeah. Or if you want to use that time, since we're going to have a placeholder for Monday night,
Yeah.
to ask more questions, get any clarification, then we could come back the following week. I would say either the 24th or 25th. I
Well, you
know
got the 24th here, special meeting.
Yeah,
To
the only-
adopt the operating budget.
My only concern about that, 24th is,
School.
yeah, the school board, Hueneme Elementary may have, I don't know if they had their last meeting last night or if they'll have their last meeting on the
Which means,
24th.
okay, which means,
But we could do Tuesday, the 25th, that next night, if it turns out that they are using,
I'm leaving out of town on the 25th.
oh, okay.
Okay, so let's check on the 24th
Yeah.
and find that
Tentatively
time.
hold the 24th, and then I'll get with Dr. Walker immediately and see what's going on with them.
But would we have in our hands before time the entire budget? Hard copy? We don't want to we'll keep our notes to ourselves, but I want to be able to see the finished product, right?
So you mean the printed
Yes.
with the fancy photo and all that?
No, I don't
or-
need the fancy photo, but,
Yeah, because that happens afterwards, but,
I mean, even if we had a completed version now to try and get that bound.
no, I don't
yeah,
need
he's
it
not, yeah, he's not talking
bound.
about that.
Don't need it bound or anything.
The 141 pages at the end of it, that's the format that will have the total budget. The department summaries, beforehand, that would kind of make up to support it, because that's used in the final.
Laura's suggestion was right in my line of thinking too. The mid-year budget report, I think, was the easiest piece of paper that you ever handed us to understand. And, because you could go down, you can see the prior year, and you can see the current year and the out year. And that's what kind of what we want to see, I think, is have it broken down into the line items, city council, finance, public works, and then so we see what last year's budget was, this year, and the budget outward. I think that's what,
Is that something we can do?
Operating and personnel.
yeah. So we don't have to see every, the unemployment insurance number. We just need to see
You want to see those, don't you, Stephen?
not unemployment. Unemployment's a whole different thing.
Giving you the razz. That's
Yeah.
okay.
So anyways.
But what do we, yeah, what,
Make
we
it
want to see
complicated then,
a
you know,
good summary
I don't
then, right? We would be able to see a good summary.
If
Yeah.
we're doing it by the 24th, we can try and put it in that. And what I like to do is, rather than this report that shows revenues as negative numbers, put it as positive and, kind of it makes it easier readability, but that's all hand formatted and hand done by me and the staff. The system won't produce that. I wanted the mid-year budget was exported, formatted, and produced on our own.
Well, then I leave it to my fellow council members. What is it you think you want to see on the 17th?
Well, okay. What do we have ready what do you expect to have ready for the 17th?
What you have now, and
Yeah,
we're
the
just waiting for
summary.
any last
That's-
changes, and we had to get that stuff in by tomorrow in order to make an agenda packet that goes out on Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah, so,
That's the thing, we can get it done, but you won't have it in your hands until we get it done.
so it's these sheets that you're talking about, huh?
Yeah.
Well, those ones are those we hand manipulate too, but those are each individual department. If we make those, because when we do the bind version, that goes in there.
And then you just pull it up, and with the summary for the budget.
Would the summaries be sufficient if we just got the summary?
Well, this is backup information, background, but then you roll it up.
Right.
All the revenues and all that kind of stuff, so you see the whole general fund, not just all the departments.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need to see something to approve it. I mean, that's,
Steve?
Yeah, that 141 pager, that's what the system produces, that's what we have, and that's what we think is.
all right, that's
Ken,
acceptable.
what about that format for the mid-year budget recap?
That's an Excel spreadsheet that.
What's wrong with that?
Scanned by me.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, it can be done, it can't
But
get it
not
done
in a
for
day,
Monday.
yeah.
But the following week, that gives us 4 staff days, 5 staff days to do it.
So by the 24th, you could have that format.
Yeah, so it'd be the
Okay.
19th is the Wednesday of next week, that's when we
That's
have to have
due.
it all done by, so that you guys can get it the next day.
Yeah.
That'd be the 20th. Rich, you got any thoughts?
I like getting it on the 24th
So we have to find out if the school district's meeting
Yeah,
here.
I'll
That's
get right on
critical
that.
right now. And then, so we'll find that out and because I agree, let's get something in our hands that's tangible.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with all you guys. I don't like the readability. That's why I've been this software's biggest enemy. It's a piece of junk. It's the worst system I've ever worked with, and I have over 25 years.
I'm sorry, but yeah, I can understand the system not delivering what you want it to deliver, but when it comes down to the narrative, that's under our control. So, I don't see why it's a problem. To take the numbers that you have and put it into a formatted, logical, orderly narrative. This wasn't it. Yeah, so.
Rich?
If the 24th doesn't work, can we agree upon another day nearby that wouldn't conflict with the school board?
Check your calendar.
Yes.
I'm gone from the 24th on.
Oh, after the 24th. You'll leave on the 25th.
I'm leaving on the 25th, yeah.
Okay. So we got to have something in hand by
Yeah,
the 25th.
maybe
We could use another location.
Yeah, I was going to say, we could keep the 24th, but use an alternative location if the school board is in here on that night. And is 5 o'clock a doable time for the
Yeah.
24th?
Yes.
Yes.
So you could have the meeting at the community center or
Sure.
something like that?
Yeah, we'd look at a couple different options. Google
Yeah.
the school district, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, try it.
Yeah.
And then I'll confirm with Dr. Walker.
And so, before we end, though, I want to thank staff for the tremendous amount of work it takes to put your numbers together, to get some estimates, to put together this whole complete budget, but for 2 years. Really appreciate your time and energy involved in this.
Board meeting on the
Thank you.
24th
Wow. It's
from
confirmed.
6 to 8. Could we meet 3 o'clock in the afternoon or
I
something?
won't.
No? Or later?
Just need another location, either the community center or.
How about the community center?
Another
Yeah.
location.
Or the port? Port's available for us as well.
They would host us in their,
Yeah, if it's a scheduled meeting for us, they don't meet. We're different Mondays.
Yeah, but this is
oh, but this is
It's
a
a
fourth
special
Monday.
meeting.
Yes, it's not our schedule.
It's a special meeting for us, the 24th.
24. They might be,
They
yeah.
just meet twice a month.
Yeah, they just
I
met.
think that
Yeah, they're going to
meeting
meet
that
next,
day.
they meet
Yeah.
twice a month, 2nd and the 4th, so
Yeah,
they're
that's
not
the
available.
Monday, yeah.
Can
So,
I move that
community
we do
center?
it at the
Yeah.
community?
I don't have a problem with the community center on the,
And Anna, late afternoon on the 24th, Monday the 24th, is that going to mess up dance classes or anything?
It's gonna cost us though, right?
There goes our budget.
Yeah.
You could say.
yeah, so,
We'll plan on that, well, I will still check with Dr. Walker, just to
Okay.
make sure that
all
that's.
right.
and
Yeah,
then-
because the school's out too.
Yeah, I know they were here just last night with a long meeting, and that might have been their end of the year soiree, I don't know.
Okay, so we'll leave that with you. Yeah, it'd be our normal time, I guess,
Yeah,
right?
5 o'clock is what we talked about for Monday, the 24th.
Yeah, so let's do that at the community center or.
Yeah, I'll confirm
To be
location.
announced. We'll get more, a summary with our numbers plugged in that we've agreed to. I mean, I think we're there. We just need to, again, view it, take a better look. Any other comments or questions? Well, then this meeting, it's 7:23, stands adjourned.
What, does the clicker go back to? Right.
Because I thought these tables